Okay, I think we're recording. All right. So Arthur coordinated for us to interview Tim. If you know Tim or you don't know Tim, I will make an introduction the way that. Oh, sorry. This guy's not as important as Tim, so we just shut him down. If you if you know Tim, or you don't, I'm just going to make my own introduction. The way I introduce people is simple. It's like, how does Tim make David feel? Right. So the way I met Tim was they joined Keller Williams some years ago now. Him, Karen, right? They're out of Drake it. Tim, you could shut me down and correct me if I'm wrong on anything that I'm saying. And he's pretty much seems like a humble, quiet guy. He's not really big into getting a big conversation with you. He's not going to walk around and fluff himself up. You know what I mean? But behind the scenes, I think this guy works really hard. I think he's really intelligent. I think he's business savvy in real estate. Make no mistake about it. He does great numbers in sales, like great numbers in sales, admirable numbers in sales that I think a lot of people would love to get to. And on top of that, as we talk to him more and more, we realize Tim actually renovates houses, right?
Ah,
He actually has some investments. He is actually making money and putting it into real estate. And I love that. I think that gives you a sense of security. And I think financially seems like he's in a pretty stable position. So let's go. And I don't know, like, I think he's a family man too, right? This guy loves his dogs. If
I
you
got my
talk to him,
dogs. Yeah, I got
loves his
two.
dogs.
I got my dogs. I got two old kids who don't live with me, so my kids are grown. And yeah, everything you said, I think was pretty on point, except for maybe the intelligent part. Sometimes I wonder.
Oh,
Um,
all right.
I hustle through it and make it work.
Yeah, if Tim can do it, you can do it. And what we're gonna dive into is
Damn right.
what is Tim doing? How's this guy with a sweater and a hat and just
That's
looking
it.
regular doing all this business? So let's dive in. I guess let's start with if you want to give us a little background on who you are, where you come from, we could start with that, and then we could get into your real estate journey.
Sure, we can do that. Where I came from, well, I came from a regular, blue collar family who just 9 to 5 jobs, and I was kind of brought up like that's what I had to do. Had to work the 9 to 5, right? It's the only way to survive. You need to work somewhere. You need to work for someone. In the back of my mind, I'm always thinking, I don't think that's true. But then, I actually started. I used to work on a dairy farm when I was a kid. I milked cows. And then I got out of that, and I was a tractor trailer driver. I drove trucks for Pepsi, Coke, Budweiser, and it just wasn't doing it for me. And then I bought a two-family home in Lowell in 2009, and I was like, you know what? Kind of like this, that it was because it was very interesting to me. And then I was licensed a year later and did the whole part-time real estate gig along with driving a Coca-Cola truck for 5 years. Because at the time I did have a family and I did have, two little kids and a wife to take care of. So I did them simultaneously, and I got to a point, selling real estate where I actually the last 2 years I stayed at Coca-Cola, I made more money part-time selling houses than I did, you know, throwing soda over snowbanks. So and then in 2015 I went full-time real estate, and here I am.
Wow,
With some
that's
other
pretty.
stuff in between, but
All right, we'll see how much we can unpack. We only got about a half an hour. So 2009, you get into it. You buy your two family around the same time you get into real estate. Your family, I'm assuming your kids are getting older now, so like you could take more risks, is what it
yeah.
sounds like.
Oh yeah, yeah. Now I'm not. There's nothing holding me back now. Both my kids are. Well, my older kid is in Texas in school, and he needs help. He's a knucklehead, but we deal with that. My daughter's amazing. She's actually licensed too. So yeah, I
Oh
can
wow.
I can I have no I have nothing holding me back now. So it's go time.
Great. So in 2009, you're doing it part-time. At that time, first of all, how did you buy the two family? And then how did you start doing sales?
So I bought the two family. I harassed my father because I didn't have any money. I harassed my father to pull equity out of his house for me. And it took me a bit, but he did it for me. And that's how I bought the first one. It was a short sale. It was one of those deals where you didn't think it was going to happen, which I kind of, it was very exciting. So that's how I bought the first one. Yeah. Yep. And then,
Wow. So that's pretty cool.
yeah. And then the agent I worked with, I'm still friendly with her. She's a good lady. And I was like, you know what? You can do it. I can do it. Kind of like what you said earlier. Hey, if you look at anybody, if they can do it, you can do it.
Yeah, I love that. I try to look at people that I can relate to, and I think if that person can do it, then that gives me a little more believability. So then how did you get into real estate sales?
I just I just liked what that whole, process of buying that short sale two family. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna go get licensed. And I just went, at the time it was 24 hours. I went into a live class on a weekend and just went and did it. And I got a ton of business actually from my full-time job.
Oh wow, so that means people trust you. So I will say this is an important point. If you don't have a father with equity in their house, you could go find somebody with equity in their house, or maybe you have equity in your house, and maybe you're scared. Or if you need me to be your father, give me a call. I have equity in some of my houses. So I think that's an important thing, right? There's money and there's opportunities there if you're just willing to go for it. He was willing to go and just start that move. Do you still have this two family property?
No, because that was in Lowell, and I've come to a point where I've decided I'm not buying any investments, buy and hold investments in Massachusetts. I'm not doing the residential rental in Mass anymore. So I got rid of that one, and then
Mhm.
you know we or I have a few in Nashua now.
All right, great. We could talk about tenant horror stories later. So then from that two family in Lowell, what happens? What happens in the next 5 to 7 years?
So I pocket good equity from that, and then I jump into it on my own. At that when I bought that first two family, my father was one of those. He's like, you know what? If I'm going to do it for you, I'm going to do it for your brother. So I bought that first one with my brother,
Okay.
which was fine. And then I just after we sold that, I got into on my own. I was searching and finally in 2019, I held on to that, for a long time. Looking back on it, I wish I had started a lot sooner on building, but I think 2019, just 6 years ago, I bought a three family in Nashua, and then you know, I still have that one, and I've just built on that with two smaller ones too, um, and that's kind of where I'm at. And then some flips came along, some opportunities there, and
How how were you able to find your flips? And I guess I didn't get the answer to this just yet, but your real estate deals came from, in the beginning, a lot of people at Coca-Cola.
right, and they still
Wow.
do.
And they still do.
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. And then I'm assuming most of your business is word of mouth and just talking to people.
That's
That's
the
safe to say.
majority. Yeah. I'm not a cold caller. I'm not, my mailings never work. So
Mhm.
it's really just getting out there and whoever I meet and referrals. And I've got a really good internet online presence too. My Zillow profile is really good. My Google it does really well. Um, so yeah, I get a lot of randoms and a lot of referrals.
That's great. So that's a good lesson for everybody on the call is like get your reviews everywhere you can and post them because you never know. Just like when you go to a restaurant and you try to look up reviews before you walk in that door, it's the same for businesses, right? People want to see what you're up to. So so most of your business comes from just referrals and having some good reviews from past sales. How are you doing renovations? Were you scared at all to do any of this? Or are you just kind of like, I have no fear now that my kids are older and my wife is doing whatever?
Yeah. So now there's not a lot of fear, but the first one, of course, there was. So the first one I did, the first flip, I didn't do any renovations to it. I actually A guy I knew, a friend of a friend, needed to sell his lakefront property up in Antrim, New Hampshire, on Lake Franklin Pierce. So it was two cottages on this piece of land. He says, I need to sell it. And I'm like, huh, maybe I'll buy it, keep it, renovate it, keep it for Airbnb. And so I bought it from him. And and then I started thinking, it's like an hour away from me. Who's going to do this work? I'm afraid it's going to be worth it. I put it up on the market and sold it in 7 days for a pretty good profit. So that was like a no effort, no renovation flip. Um, which was that was good. And then I gotta say, I think the second one was a small condo, and that's when my current partner, who I do most of these flips with, she found it, and you all know her, it's Karen. She
Shout
grabbed.
out to Karen.
Yeah, I don't think she's on here, but she found a small condo. We renovated that, and like, hey, we can do this. And then my favorite one was up in Hudson, New Hampshire. She scored a two-family listing, and we ended up, we matched or beat the highest bidder. We took it, and this was an ugly one. This was a tough house, and kind of like what you guys are doing now, got it to the studs basically, and we converted it to condos, and that was a good one. And from that point on, I said, okay, I can do this. This is
Yeah,
this is
that's wonderful. I think
this
for
is
most
doable.
agents,
Get a good.
yeah, I think for most agents, the overcoming of the fear is such a big thing, right? Because there is significant risk, right? You might have made money in 7 days, but I bet you didn't know that that's how it was going to go, right?
That was not the plan with that at all. It just happened. Yeah.
Right. And a lot of times I think for agents, we say this all the time. Get money in sales because we do get paid pretty good if you can successfully sell a few houses or more every single month. But then when you walk into these houses and try to see the opportunity, like, can I buy this place? Can I renovate this place? And as I hear you talk, it's like I'm personally partners with my brother right now in this next deal. I'm partnering with another person. As I would say it's okay to partner with people. You
Yeah.
just have to have some level of trust.
Right.
Make sure they're not sleazy, I guess.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
just do a little homework, right? Trust your gut. So, do you partner with just anyone? Do you partner with specific people that you trust? Is there any advice you could give on that?
So I've got to trust them, and I've got to know them pretty well. So it's usually her that I end up doing it, whether she finds it or I find it. But most recently, the one I just did, my mortgage guy, he actually brought it to me. He goes, "Hey, you know what? You want to do this?" Yeah. I mean, I trust him 100%. Known him 15 years. So we got through. He brought it, so that's why I did it with him. So I'm not going to just partner with anybody. You need
Mhm.
to know them. I'm pretty selective on two things: people and flips, right? And business.
Right.
So yeah, I've got to be pretty selective. So it's not just anybody, but yeah,
Yeah, I think this is the best advice. I am the same way. If somebody walked through the door tomorrow and they look trustworthy, it would take me like 8 months. I want to get to
right,
know them. I want to see them in a fire. I want to see how
right,
they react in some crazy. I want to see how they react in a divorce. I want to see
right.
how they react with their kids. I just want to see something crazy that happens to them and how they handle themselves because it's not everything looks good when you're starting these partnerships
Oh yeah.
but when they call it shit hits the fan,
Mhm.
all of a sudden you don't know who this person is. And I think that's the scary part. So I guess the most important is trust and know who you're dealing with. If somebody walks into I'm assuming if somebody comes into your world day one and they're like, Tim, I got this great deal. You want to partner with me? And something's off, you might not do it, even if a lot of things line up.
Definitely not. And I actually have a kind of a repeat client I've been working with about 10 years now. I like him. He's a good guy. He does a lot of business. He's got plenty of money to do it. I would never partner with him because it wouldn't work. I wouldn't get along with him. It just wouldn't work. We have different styles, I can tell. But that's why, at my first meeting with him, I'd be like, I would work with this guy, no problem, right? He's great. He's great. But as time went on, I'm like, we're just different. So both have success in our own mind or in our own our own way, but he's just not my kind of person to
Yep.
work with. He's very, he just doesn't operate the way I do. So, you can like somebody, get along with them outside, but when it comes to things like this, it might not be a good idea.
So that's a really important point. And I guess what's your goal now? The cool thing about you and just hearing this is like I don't know how else to say it, but like you're nothing special. You're just
No,
out there getting
no.
it done,
I
right?
love wearing my hat. I don't bullshit. I mean, I shoot pretty straight, and backing to a specific flip that comes to mind. I went in for a listing appointment and I encouraged this person, you will do better. She wanted me to buy it. I said, you will do better if you put it on the market. 100%. Let's do it. Get it on the market. I don't want to deal with people in and out of my house. I'm like, you sure? This is all I'm giving you. And, it took a couple of weeks of me trying to convince her to make more money. And she said no. And, Karen and I bought it, and turned it around. So it's just, funny things happen, in this business where the opportunity is all over the map. And you guys have talked about it before. You go into a listing appointment or whatever with a mindset, wide open.
Yeah, in my world, I always say greed kills and speed kills. So you cannot put money over people, but it's weird. You being honest with a person and telling them you can get more money for listing this property still resulted you, and it was probably same thing, trust, right? Still resulted with her wanting to sell it to you. And it's probably a better experience for that person to deal with you directly than it would be to deal with a bunch of different people. Even if sometimes money's not the thing that drives people, right? Sometimes you just want an easy sale and you want to sell it to somebody you really trust. So that's pretty cool. What are some goals?
Some goals now, it's hard because I'm kind of all over the place, right? So like I said, I've got three buildings I got two families and a three family, and I'm like, why am I doing this on such a small scale when I see, some of the guests that you guys have who've been doing this way less time than me, absolutely crushing it with, 100 plus units. And I'm like at a standstill, so I
Mhm.
don't know that my goal is to get to 100 units. I don't know if I even want that. I'm pretty happy with what I get for sales, and two or three flips I might do a year, and maybe a dozen, but I think my a dozen doors, if you will, might be okay. But I think the goal is to just keep looking for opportunity. I do want to get into something bigger for buy and hold, whether that be a piece of commercial, or a larger, 6 unit, 12 unit, maybe some storefronts under it. Um, that is probably my next goal, and try to just sniff out more flips. Everybody's out there trying to find the wholesalers. So they're tough to find. But I think that's kind of the long term, very vague goal.
Yeah, and I'm sure I mean, it's definitely competitive out there looking for these flips. My ideology is I don't care to buy everything, but when it's right, I will buy it. I'm not trying to force myself to buy some crazy deal just to think the numbers are going to work. I know plenty of people that build houses and renovate houses and do flips and lose money at the end, or
Yeah.
like make 10,000 for dealing with a year's worth of construction. Like to me, that is not the game. I'd rather just go sell some
Right.
houses,
And that's why we can't, there's a lot of people out there doing it, getting shot in the foot right now, by overspending for some of these houses. And, you know, um, if you're not I'm not analytical. I'm not going to go into a house, and I don't have spreadsheets.
Yep.
I'll go into a house and walk around and say, okay, I know what this is going to cost me, and I know what it's going to sell for when it's done. I don't have that calculation, you know what I mean? Um, and I think some people overthink that stuff, you
Right.
know, and go into something, and then they may impulse buy or whatever, and they end up losing. I talked to somebody too not that long ago. They were like, "Yeah, we made $5,000 on that flip." I'm
Yeah,
like,
makes no sense. You can make 5,000 a lot easier.
right.
So now on those multifamilies that you currently own, are these all owned by you as a sole owner? Do you have any partners on these?
No, it's just me. No
All right,
partners with
great.
no partners with those.
So I'm then assuming, and you correct me if I'm wrong, technically these just this what seven
7 doors.
units.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what me and my brother have too, except I have a partner. So I'm trying to take this kid out to the park, if you know what I mean.
I get
But
you.
the seven doors, I'm assuming if you wanted to stop working, could potentially provide enough income plus assets, right? Outside asset value could potentially provide enough income for you to just cruise, like relax.
Not quite yet, but
Okay.
it certainly helps, not quite yet. But it's a
So
big
so a dozen doors would definitely do that for you.
it does and should. I don't buy anything that doesn't cash flow,
Yep.
buy and hold. It's got to cash flow pretty well. Um, but I'm not there yet, but it certainly it makes me feel comfortable knowing what I have coming in.
Yeah,
If
it
I have
definitely.
in earlier this year, I had a really tough start to sales the first 6 months, and those doors definitely helped me not tap into a savings account.
Perfect. That's the point I'm trying to get across to a lot of people. Like it doesn't take much to buy a few buildings and take that pressure off. Because when there's no pressure, it seems to me like your sales business is blowing up through the roof, and that's amazing for the second part of the year. But when you have a cushion, which in your cases are the buildings, if you never bought that stuff, it would be a lot more pressure, right? You'd be in the pressure cooker, and nobody works good that way when you're in the pocket and there's pressure coming in from all sides, right?
Right, right. Yep.
Any advice you want to give to anyone that is maybe working on buying their first multi or doing their first flip, and they're just, when we every I still get nervous every house I buy, but like I got the bug that just like I got the nervous bug. Some deals could be great and I probably walk on them just because I'm like just want to be too safe. So anybody starting out and maybe they just got that nervous bug. I think a lot of people do, right? It's a lot of money. There is a level of risk. It's not like you're just going to come into this game and make
Yep.
money. So what would you tell the younger Tim?
To talk to somebody like David and Arthur, to talk to somebody like Tim or anybody else who's got this experience, whether it's, long-term rentals or flips. I'm looking to go, don't be afraid to ask somebody who's doing it for help and opinions and advice. I think that's probably the biggest thing. If I had somebody early on, because I was kind of flying solo, it would be a little bit of a different ball game right now. I might be a little bit more advanced, a little bit more into it. So I think asking for advice and not being too afraid, you know?
Yeah, not being too afraid. You're never going to be completely comfortable.
Right. Right.
Cool.
Don't be
Anything
too
else you
afraid.
want to share?
Um, not really. I'm fine with answering questions, but as far as sharing, not really. But I guess the one thing that I kind of do, right, this isn't why I moved from Mass to New Hampshire with rentals, but all I rent to are subsidized, so Section 8.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only way for me to do it. Just I don't want to deal with the BS of not being paid, chasing people down, things like that. And raising rents are a lot easier when you
Yeah.
have the government paying every month. I did like a $600 a unit increase in 2021 or 2022 after COVID in one shot,
Mm-hmm.
on 3 units. And you can't do that with, traditional tenants. They can never afford a $600 increase, right away, in one shot. So Section 8 to me is the way I go with rentals, 100%.
Yeah. I will agree. I think only two of our rentals are actually Section 8. And just as an example, those accounts, Section 8's like first, second of the month. I don't know, but it's like the beginning of the month that thing hits your bank account and it's
First
beautiful.
Monday first Monday. If the first falls on a weekend, you'll get it the Monday, and you
Yeah,
look at it, you're
yeah.
like, boom, there it is.
It's long before the 15th. And then I have a tenant, for instance, I have two tenants this past month. They didn't pay me until September 30th. So I had to like literally charge them extra. I had to call them. I had to, you know, so I guess that when the money hits that account quick from the government and it's clockwork, I think that is good. Anything you want to say about screening those tenants before you put them in?
Yeah, people think Section 8 have to be, they're bums, they don't work, they've got terrible credit. Sometimes that's the case. But I do screen them similar to how I would any other tenant, right? I don't
Yeah.
care if your credit's a little bit in the toilet if you have Section 8, but I want to know why. So I'm going to pull your credit and I want to see why. You know, Section 8 tenants work, right? They can certainly work and they pay a portion of that rent. Do the same thing. Screen them. How long you've been there? Just good character. Go with your gut. Your gut tells you a lot when you meet
I
someone.
can say too, I've got a sister-in-law and brother-in-law that are Section 8. My sister-in-law and brother-in-law, they have disabilities.
Yeah.
He wheels people in wheelchairs at Logan Airport, and she's been at Bunker Hill Community College in the daycare for 35 years,
Right.
and they're both Section 8, unbelievable tenants.
Yes.
So I'm glad we're talking about this because there's a lot of great Section 8 tenants out there.
They have to inspect the units. I think right now it's every 2 years. They were doing it every year. And I go into these units and I say three out of the seven tenants, these units are cleaner than my house. They're super clean. They know they have to keep them that way. So it's Section 8 is not a bad thing. Don't be afraid of
Yeah.
it. Do it.
So just screen them. I will end the recording now. Tim, thank you